What's up, everybody? This is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are watching Ranger Wrap Up. Peace!
Guys, I am here with John Warden, product designer for Power Rangers Lightning Collection, and John Firestone, global brand marketing for Power Rangers Lightning Collection. Guys, there were so many announcements you guys made at Hasbro PulseCon, and I was stoked about all of them. But let's start at the top. At Hasbro PulseCon, you gave the reveal for the Dino Fury Red Ranger to be included in the next wave of Lightning collections. He looks absolutely amazing, especially his Zedd civilian head, which is the likeness of Russell Curry. I was wondering at any point in the development process, was including his antennas that we occasionally see ever considered for the figure?
Well, it's interesting. We get this question a lot, actually. It's people really love those antennas. And when we were first getting reference from the New Zealand team, we didn't actually know he was going to have antennas until like and it's kind of the organic nature of working. Yeah. So it was interesting to us too, because we were like, wow, I guess this gives us another reason to do Zato here.
That's what's really cool about working about like a live entertainment content piece like this. When you work so close together, you're so early in production that things evolve organically as the story gets developed, as characters get flushed out, and they add antennas later in the process, and it doesn't show up on our product because it was designed off of an earlier iteration.
You know, it was really cool to see Russell's reaction about this thing too, though, because it's one thing to design a legacy ranger, but like when Loretta was working on this character, I mean, we were able to get really great head turnarounds from the entire cast there, and like it's happening in real time, and I mean, and he's still a teen with attitude, and it's very exciting to be able to see that genuine reaction out of him when he saw his figure.
Yeah, it was amazing, and that figure looks gorgeous. I love that that Dino Fury. It's just aesthetic and suit. I think it's
a solid Ranger suit. I agree.
One of the most beautiful, I would say, Ranger suits I've ever seen. Another figure revealed was the Zeo Cog. I love Zeo. It's one of my favorite seasons. It's a perfect piece to go with the recent 2-pack you guys had with those army builders out there. It was mentioned back at FanFest that a figure in 2022 would come with the tonfas from Zeo Blue, and now we see it in this Cog figure. Can you talk about the method in getting these additional accessories from previous releases, and is that something we might continue to see down the line?
Well, no, I think it's all about trying to take inventory of what fans have and try to think about what makes sense for collections in terms of completing sets of weapons or elements that maybe they feel like they might be missing. We've been talking to Ranger fans throughout our time on this brand, which has been mostly throughout COVID and through interviews like this. And one thing we've come to learn is as teams are getting fleshed out, you want to get all those power weapons and gear elements or coins or whatever those pieces are that help complete that element on your shelf. Right. And with the Cog, it made sense to include them here. And you may also notice the deco on this Cog too. It's a little bit different. And we did this on purpose so that as you're troop building, and as you know, as a Zeo fan, the Cogs, when the Machine Empire comes in, they're all different sort of characters. You've got some red ones, some silver ones. The clear metallic that we ended up putting on that character was actually kind of inspired by one of the scenes where they get electrocuted and you kind of see him zap. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but I think it does speak to how we're trying to vary things a little bit so that, people who bought the 2-pack, this is almost another reason to get it, so that when you start to think about all these guys either in your bins or on your shelf, you can delineate between all the different ones. But I'm glad you asked about that Tonfa. It's one of those things we're always looking to kind of complete collections of stuff across the line.
I also love the fact that you talked about the electrocution, because that was literally my next question.
Oh yeah,
about that. Absolutely. So I can move on to the next one. Now, speaking of accessories, the next figure shown was Dino Charge Pink, introducing the female mold for Dino Charge team members, but also the first weapon, the Dino Spike Sword, with Shelby being the first member of the team to do so. What was the thought behind that for the Dino Charge Pink?
So, you know, Shelby getting her own unique weapon was really another way for us to bring some kind of freshness to Dino Charge. And the Dino Charge, in my opinion, is like Dino Fury. It's another one of those really solid Ranger suits and gear. The gear for Dino Charge is really awesome too. So, you know, Loretta likes to try to pack in the accessories where they make sense. And the response has been pretty overwhelming. And it would be great to try to eventually get those unique weapons for everybody else. And, you know, I'm working with John closely, and we're trying to figure out strategic ways to get those pieces out to the consumers, just so they can continue to get everything to complete their wave of Dino Charge figures.
It's amazing. Now, the final member of the next wave is Merrick, the Lunar Force, Wild Force Lunar Wolf Ranger. That's a mouthful there. Introduced new to the team just in time for the 20th anniversary of that season in 2022. Was that planned all along, or was that kind of like a happy coincidence?
You want to take this one, John?
Yeah, I mean, it was planned. It's part of the way that we plan out Lightning Collection is there's a number of different things that go into it. And you know, there's some of it where it's like we're considering colors and making sure that we have a good breadth of seasons, so that everyone likes a different season has something represented in the wave. But there's also things like anniversaries and things like that we want to consider and make sure that we take the opportunity way ahead of time to celebrate and time things together, so that, for example, when it's the 20th anniversary of Wild Force, we've got the Lunar Wolf himself coming out.
It's amazing. I can't wait. And that figure looks so gorgeous. Now, moving on to the brand new deluxe line, we got to see the Mighty Morphin Piranha's head monster. I was blown away by this guy. His accessories are perfect. The details perfect. And it's a great way to kick off this new assortment. I was wondering if there was anything you could say about how this guy might scale with the new Walmart retro Megazord figure. Was that the intention of sorts, to be displayed on the shelves side by side?
Well, it was a little. When we look at the entire line, we do want to make some choices, right? And while we do know that the height does vary a little bit in the monsters assortment, especially when you think about some of those characters, you know, like Goldar is a good example compared to some of the other ones. Piranha's head is actually kind of in the middle. He's a bulky, but it does actually work out. It scales. In the office, I actually have one of those Walmart retro guys. They turned out great, and they look great next to each other. So the intention was that, you know, the Walmart collection, those retro guys, they're all sort of meant to look like they're wearing the suits. They're very much done right off of reference that we partnered with Toei and got some old Polaroid pictures that we were able to scan, and full turns on set, and those are actually, from the detail and proportion standpoint, match up really closely. Now, for Lightning Collection, as you know, we take some liberties because of articulation. We try to like make it a little bit more lifelike. We're trying to strike a careful balance between the fantasy of the character as well as, you know, the on-shelf appearance. But in this case, it works out pretty good. They're actually kind of pretty close in scale.
It looks great. It looks beautiful. Now, speaking of deluxe figures, we're also getting the in-space Blue Ranger Galaxy Glider with the Galaxy Glider.
God love the Galaxy Gliders.
Yay. What an awesome release. And TJ is one of my favorite characters, but I got to ask, why TJ over anyone else?
Well, I think it's for a couple of reasons. When you look at the lineup, TJ was in a 2-pack, and a couple other characters had multiple releases around the same time. Andros had a caped version, and so it just worked out well from an in-space lineup standpoint. We knew that, you know, he's the leader of Turbo. It made sense to put him in this pack. Sure. In the blue at retail looked good. There's all sorts of other reasons, you know, as well, just to try to celebrate this pack in TJ. But I tell you, that glider, it's something else. You know, there's lots of little, when you get your hands on it, it feels solid. You know, I know a lot of fans have been making like protos of it and things like that, but this one, it feels substantial. There's a lot of clear elements to it. There's a port on the bottom that will work with, you know, existing stands that you might have so you want to make it look like they're doing the flying through space thing. And there's actually some foot pegs so you can get them to kind of strike poses, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, it turned out great.
So cool. Now, looking at the Lord Zedd helmet, this is the first helmet you guys have done that's not for a Ranger. Besides him appearing in Dino Fury, what was the decision to branch out with Lord Zedd, starting with Lord Zedd?
You can take this one, John.
Oh, thank you. I mean, him appearing in Dino Fury was a big impetus here. We knew that it was coming, working with the studio and the writers. We knew that it was going to be a big thing, Zedd coming back. So we really wanted to help celebrate that at the same time. Plus the fact that it was timed around Halloween. It's a fantastic helmet item for a Halloween timing. So everything together just really made it seem like this was Zedd's moment.
Right.
It was kind of...
a lot of these decisions too, like John and Joe and I and Loretta will just be like, why haven't we made a Zedd helmet yet? Like like other companies haven't made a helmet. Like it's he's arguably one of the most iconic pop culture villains of all time, not just the 90s. It turned out great. It's a huge helmet. It's physically big. It's well balanced. So you've got a battery pack in the back that offsets the weight of the speaker here. And then when you wear it, you've got the voice changer. We, you know, from a company standpoint, we've learned a lot about the chrome on there, which is really, really cool. And so it's quite a spectacular helmet. Spongy brain is my favorite part. We had some meetings where we're like, the brain, it's just not spongy enough. You gotta get
that. Honestly, that helmet is so cool. As soon as I saw Brandon Davis wearing and he took it off, I was like, oh my God, is this a... And then it was like, oh, it's for sale. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Incredible. I was blown away. Such a shock.
And like what John said, it's one of the coolest parts about working on this is being a fan of something. You get to help guide where the product gets made, and you get to think about like, what do I want? And so when we were discussing and we were talking about a Lord Zedd helmet, it was kind of shocking that it wasn't out there because we all wanted one.
Honestly,
how cool is it that if like you're having friends over,
yes,
right? Like, guys, I'll be right back. You come back, you're wearing Lord Zedd's helmet. Instantly coolest guy at the party.
Seriously, I was just so happy. I thought it was just going to be like a display thing, but no, it's fully wearable. And I was like,
oh yeah. Well, it's funny too. We had another side discussion. It's like, do you call it a helmet or do you call it a head?
Right.
Because it's really his head. But we know people collect helmets, so it's like, yeah,
it's great.
It's a conundrum.
Now, are there any plans to release more Ranger helmets in the Lightning Collection? And if so, do you guys plan on branching out outside of MMPR? Maybe with the comics like Lord Draken, Ranger Slayer, or you know, Zeo, or whatever it may be.
I mean, we can't talk about specific plans, but we can say that we're into all of those characters as well. We think a lot of the characters from the Boom comics are awesome. We have various favorite seasons outside of MMPR, you know, from Zeo to In Space, you know, we're fans too. So there's lots of room for us to get out there and expand beyond MMPR, and we're hopeful that we'll get there.
Yeah, and I build on that. You know, what's exciting about the Boom Comics universe is that it's just an incredible expansion in a meaningful way onto the Power Rangers mythos. And there's so many beloved characters in there, notably Lord Drakon, that, you know, resonate as strongly, arguably, as any season that ever made it on TV. But it's also deepening our fan base in an incredible way. So huge kudos to the fans for the support of the Boom Comics run. And if honestly, if there's a season you guys want, let us know. We're always paying attention on social media. We watch all of your different channels and things like that, and we're always listening. So try to let us know.
Omega Rangers. I want Omega Rangers. They look so cool.
Oh my God, yeah, right?
Omega Rangers.
The whole idea of Omega Rangers is amazing.
That's the great comic is really expanding, expanding the legacy of Power Rangers, which I absolutely love. They're doing that with the Altarian War now, and I love that stuff.
It's getting good. It's getting really good. So much good stuff on the horizon too. I'm not gonna say anything.
So cool. Now I want to talk about the Zord Ascension program, Zap.
Oh God. Ooh, gives me the chills just thinking about it. John and I we geek out about this stuff hard.
Now, the Megazord is a big highlight at the event. While it's probably safe to say that we'll eventually get a Dragon Zord down the pipeline in expansion, would the price point and feasibility of the scale mean that something like Titanus would have to be looked at for a potential HasLab project instead of a main release?
Well, we'll always look at those like unique offerings from Power Rangers that make it so iconic. Like Titanus is specific, like so cool and different, and really helps make Power Rangers what it is. It is big, and it's something that we'll have to really look at. We want to do stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that we think sets us apart and gets us excited. Like similar to the Zedd helmet, we want to try and make things like that work. So we don't have any plans or anything that we can announce around it, but it's something to pay attention to and look to the future, maybe.
Now, I get to say that huge thanks to the fans for, like, we just revealed this. Gosh, it was just a few short weeks ago, it feels like now, and we've known about this. This is, since we came onto the brand, it's been one of those things like we gotta really figure out a way to do Megazords right, and let's take the time to really put the love into it and think about how to do it, how to pay tribute to some of the most legendary mecha of pop culture ever made. So so we set out with these missions, and partnering with the branding team has been incredible. They were able to kind of create this robust universe, and I think we're just now starting to scratch the surface. What we want to do is make it so that it feels like a true system. 1/144th scale, small rangers, the level of articulation. There's kind of a system that we're building into it that we want people to fall in love with. So in terms of HasLab, that would be something, no question, it wouldn't be off the table. It's all about like what do people want out of the system.
Sure. Now, when picking choices for Zap, what would be some of the criteria? Obviously, MMPR is an easy place to start, but what can fans expect to kind of grow and expand outside of that?
I think it's going to be a similar answer to the way we plan out Lightning Collection. There's lots of stuff that goes into the soup. We've got to think about having some variety, make sure that we hit everybody's different favorite seasons so that we're not just staying in one place. We got to look at anniversaries. We've got to look at maybe somebody needs some extra love in terms of like something's happening, or it just has never, like there's a product that we want that's never been done before.
Right.
So there's lots of different ways to think about it and really to explore it. And that's fun. And that's really one of the best parts about our job, is really to go into all the different possibilities for where we could go.
Now, one thing that excites me about you guys being on Power Rangers is that you guys are innovative, really innovative with what you guys are doing with, with the Lord Zedd helmet. With what is that in your hand?
I was just gonna say, like when I came out, I don't know if you have this magazine or not. This is I picked this up. It's a reference manual. When I first came on board, I mentioned to you that I'm a big mecha geek. I came from Transformers, but my love of mecha and robots transcends just Transformers. I grew up playing with some of the old Bandai like Die Atlas and stuff like that, like the 80s stuff, right? Which predates Power Rangers, but it's still kind of cut from the same cloth. So when I moved to this brand, Jordan and I did a deep dive, and I created all these scale charts. Took weeks. It was great because we're all in COVID, right? We're sort of like in our own little bubble. I'm here in my greenhouse, and I was creating all of these scale charts and riffing off Jordan, who's younger than me. He grew up in space.
Sure.
And so we're trying to look at the scale. So when you go through all of these legendary mecha, and there are so many, even some seasons have, which maybe the Ranger outfits look a certain way, and then you've got the mecha look. Some of the best seasons don't have the best mecha, and then some of the best mecha are not in the best seasons. So it's like when you look at the totality of everything, like everything John said, he's 100% right. Like it's like there's feeling and different season love, but there's also like robot mecha love, and some of the robots and the mecha that appear, the Megazords that appear throughout the rich 30-year history, it's like nothing's off the table. Some things are harder to do. You think about the 1/144th scale, we're kind of putting our foot down. So guys like Parametis, who I have a Parametis off camera right now, but it's like that would be huge. It'd be dope, but it'd be huge. So we have to like think about what makes sense, and also what best pays tribute to the universe of Megazords. And when we think about this as a curated collection, like make your voices known. This is one of those things too. We want to organically grow with the fans, but we have the ability of coming out on the ground floor. This is a numbered collection, ZAP 01, and sky's the limit. So it's like, imagine being able to start at the very beginning of Lightning Collection, but we're always listening. So let us know what you think.
If I get a HasLab Serpentera, I will be happy. Right? That would be, how amazing would that be, right? But
that'd be big.
I did want to follow up on something you had just said, because you do come from the world of Transformers. Talk to me about the specific challenges that Power Rangers and Zords kind of provided you. What challenges did you face that maybe you didn't expect?
Well, it's whenever you work with something that is morphing from one mode to the other, you have to deal with the volumes in both of those modes, parts counts, articulation. John knows this thing from being able to really keep it a good value for the consumer, but also drive that premium feel, like a curated premium feel, from the packaging to the experience of unboxing it to the Megazords themselves. You want to, as a fan, you want to pack as much as you can into it. But as you start to think about the limitations of morphing, a lot of those articulation points do add limitations that then will eventually drive things to be bigger. And when we looked at the source material of some of the original concept art and some of the genesis of some of these ideas, that even, we're looking at the concept art that then, the props guy made the suit that the guy would wear, and then the toy guys would make their own toys. So there's but when you go back to that source material, you want to try to pay tribute to that as much as possible, and thinking about the deco and all of that. But doing a morphing thing, we had some practice coming out of Transformers, but we had to really harness a lot of that institutional knowledge, because it's working with different vendors and with our partners in Hong Kong and China. It's very complex. And then you add the layer of this entire thing being developed in COVID virtually. Right. It was crazy. Luckily, though, I could say this, and John could agree with me on this. We've got Jordan and Nilak Lai over in Hong Kong are both like huge Power Rangers and mecha fans. Like Locke in Hong Kong grew up with the brand, and he loves the mecha of Power Rangers. So they both were like on conference calls all night, sometimes not all night. I'm exaggerating. They were up till like the late hours, because in Hong Kong time, it's reverse of how it is here. And they were doing it not just to make sure it was a good Megazord, but to make sure it was right, and focusing on the right things. I have a way of just going on and about robots.
No, I love it.
That's basically the gist of it.
The passion.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, we're passionate. We take it very seriously.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like one thing you guys also have, and it's crazy because I have a ton of these Lightning Collection figures, and sometimes I don't want to take them out of the box, because honestly, the box art is just so beautiful. It absolutely is, right? It's gorgeous. But one thing that you guys have done a really good job at is giving any fans the versatility to display your figures, whether it be through the boxes or with the vehicles, or just alone, standing the figures alone. Are there any chance that you guys are going to do anything like dioramas, like maybe like a Megazord cockpit or anything like that? Any chance those could be on the table?
Oh, I don't know. I love to say yes, but it was, we look ahead. There's nothing's off the table. We're inspired by what fans do, how they display things, the types of things. Power Rangers fans, from what I've met at San Diego Comic-Con and the years before, it's like very creative bunch. They're familiar with 3D printers, and they're excellent photographers. They're active on Instagram. We want to give them the tools to share. you know, because I think it only makes our brand stronger when we're all one fan universe like that.
1,000%. And the last question I had for you guys is that every time I would go to a convention and check out the Hasbro booth, this is going to be a small thing, but you guys have the coolest Lightning Collection figure stands, because you can stand the figure, but it has almost like a peg for the helmet too. Do you think that any of these stands are going to become public or available to the public? Because I even bought the Hasbro stands that you guys sell on the site now, but specifically for the Lightning Collection, it feels like there could be a different stand that you guys could provide. But is there any chance that we could get a different stand?
I love that idea of having a little place for the helmet. That is some of those some of the ones at San Diego Comic-Con, they're custom made by our model services department to the best display it, because you don't want to just hot glue the head on the side of the thing, because then it doesn't look great. Right. So by putting an acrylic stem in there, I think it makes sense. But when you think about people who have a lot of helmets, that's a big thing coming out of this brand. I learned is people love their helmets and their morphers, and as much as they love their figures and things like that. And so being able to pay homage to some of that in a clean way that looks really tight on your display shelf, I think that makes sense. I can't make any promises because we're still looking into the future, but we're
feedback like
watching. Yeah, we're like Santa Claus. We're always listening.
Yo, I'm gonna say, if you guys come back out, if you guys have those communicators coming out, I'm gonna lose it, because I didn't catch them. I got them the first time around, but I something about those MMPR communicators, I just love them. So
yeah, something so analog and wonderful about them, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's to my childhood. But look, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for what you do, and thank you so much for this Lightning Collection, because as a longtime fan, this is exactly what I've always wanted: be able to collect all these different iterations and eras of Power Rangers, from the television show to the comics. I absolutely love it, and you guys are killing it. So thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being a fan, and thanks for having us on and asking us questions. It's always good to talk to people.
Look, anytime. You guys are brilliant. I love what you guys do. Thank you so much.
You bet, man. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Take care, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Take care. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. Same to you.